Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Youth Work Open Day presentation. It's my absolute pleasure to be with you this morning, and I hope over the next 20 or so minutes I can give you a good outline of what youth work at ACU looks like, what it feels like, and how you might be able to imagine yourself being part of our course and your future career through studying at ACU. As you can see on the screen here, there's two staff listed. I'm the first one. My name's Paul Chalkley. I'm a youth worker. I'm an academic and I happen to be a graduate of ACU, and it's my pleasure today to give this presentation on our course. My colleague, Dr. Jen Couch, is the course coordinator, and if you were to come to this presentation next week or the week after, Jen would be doing this presentation. So if you leave today with more questions and want to come back, you're very welcome to pop into Youth Work Open Day over the coming weeks, but it won't be me that you see. So maybe you'll get a different experience, and that could be a good thing for you. So before I start with talking about our course, I thought it might be nice to just briefly introduce myself. So as I said, I happen to be a graduate of ACU. When I was in my mid-20s, I had what I call my midlife crisis, a very convenient time to have it when you're still quite young. And I changed my career from working in retail to becoming a youth worker. So I studied the degree in youth work at ACU and graduated this year. It's 20 years ago that I graduated. And in that time, I've worked consistently as a youth worker. And my main work in the first 7 years was working in a school. I worked in an alternative school for young people with challenging behaviours. And I was an outreach support worker to help them sort of take control of their choices in their life and to sort of be empowered to sort of point their life in the direction they wanted to go. And that was really valuable work for me and really important work. And I think helped me develop some really useful youth work skills as well. I then spent a couple of years in regional Victoria running a campsite for young people that couldn't afford school camp. So my family and I moved to the country and had 2 years living on a school camp where I facilitated and ran and supported school camp programs. And that was a wonderful 2-year working holiday. And I still look back very fondly on those days. My youth work since then has been back in Melbourne, where I work in residential care with young people who are under the care of the state, who are in the broader out-of-home care system. And my specific work is in what they call residential care, so young people who can't live at home, who live in a staffed house, and the state is effectively their parent, and then they employ people to facilitate that work. So I work casually now as a residential care worker to keep myself practicing as a youth worker. I'm busy because for the past 10 years I've also been an academic. So I work at ACU full-time. I have a leadership role in the School of Arts. I'm the Assistant Deputy Head of School. Not really sure what that role means, but I've been doing it since the middle of this year. And I'm a full-time lecturer. So I teach youth work. I supervise all the youth work students on placement, and I teach several youth work subjects every semester and one sociology subject. So as I go through my coming slides, I think I will be able to bring to life a lot of the theory that we try to give to students while they're in our courses, but also to see how it links to practice. So that's my introduction. Now let's get on with my presentation for Open Day. On the right hand side here, you'll see one of our graduates, Mark. Mark studied youth work with us about 8 years ago and continues to be a very good practicing youth worker and comes and talks to our first year class some years. So one of the great things about being involved in our course for so long is I've seen a lot of graduates come through our course and go on to be very effective and quite exciting youth workers. And a fair amount of those students are very happy to come back and share their stories and their journeys and their insights, their learnings with our students. So every year in my first year class, I get a number of graduates who come back and sort of mentor our first year students. So we've got a great connection to the field through our graduates that are making a difference in the lives of young people. If you haven't already had a look at the ACU Open Day website, I'd encourage you to follow the link that's in the chat box or just type Open Day ACU 2020 into Google and you'll find it, and scroll down past some of the sort of information until you get to the subject areas or the courses and you'll find youth work. I suspect you've done that because you've ended up here today because that's where the links are. But if you haven't, there's some content in there that would be useful for you to add to today's experience. So there's a video where you'll see me. You'll also see some other content around what youth work at ACU is like. So have a look at that and that might sort of help answer some questions you've got as well. The information on the screen, I don't like reading everything to you. That's not perhaps the most exciting way for you, but I'll just pick out a couple of things that are embedded in those dot points there. For youth workers, our primary focus is the young person. So some other disciplines would say they work with young people and they support young people. And sometimes at Open Day, our most common question is, what's the difference between social work and youth work? Well, the best answer I can give you is that our primary focus is the young person. You'll see in the third dot point there that we have a holistic practice and we look at the lives of the young person. I think on the coming slide, we look at the big picture of the young person's life. But always at the centre of our practice is the young person, and we work in conjunction with them. Sometimes it's to support them, sometimes to be an advocate for them, sometimes it's to empower them, but always at the centre of our decision-making process of youth workers is to be there with and for the young person, and that's what makes youth work unique. It's what makes it different. In that third dot point, you'll see that part of our approach and our practice is that we look at the social and cultural environment in which young people exist and they live. So over the coming slides, I will show you the course map of what subjects are involved in studying youth work, and you'll see a lot of youth work subjects, but you'll also see some sociology subjects. And those sociology subjects are specifically chosen and carefully chosen to enhance your youth work training, so you can have an understanding of why society operates the way it does. And equally, as youth workers, it gives you a voice to sometimes challenge the way society operates so that we can be a voice for and with young people. Youth work is about young people, but equally, youth work is about you. Because one thing I would say to you is that we don't tell you exactly how to be a youth worker. What we do is empower you to be the best youth worker you can be. So there's no box that we ask our graduates to fit into. What we do is we give you, if I can use an analogy, we give you like a wardrobe, and you get to go into that wardrobe and try on different articles of clothing. So throughout your training with us, those different articles will be different theoretical concepts and different means of practice and different avenues for supporting young people. And your challenge and your journey will be to choose that practice which best fits you. Because the best youth workers are those which have sort of owned their practice in their own way and can operate within their comfort zone, but also within their strengths. So we want you to go out and to use your particular traits, your own insights, your own sort of, your strengths to be the best youth worker to support young people in your way. So yes, youth work is about young people. Youth work is equally about you. And it's our hope that if you were one of our students, we would support you to find that connection between theory and practice that you will take out to the field so that you can do the work that you're hoping to do. And our course, I think, will allow you to do that. So the next slide talks about the word practice a lot. So youth work is a practice. I'll let you have a chance just to have a look at those while I try to pick out some of the areas that I think are worth sort of focusing on. One of the theorists that we will engage with if you're studying with us is a guy from New Zealand called Lloyd Martin. And in one of his books called The Invisible Table, Lloyd Martin talks about the fact that some practitioners develop a relationship with young people so they can do their work, so they can deliver their service. So for some services, and I don't want to name other disciplines because it's not about sort of pitting us against them, because we're actually complementary to each other, but some services develop the relationship so they can deliver their work. For youth workers, the relationship is the work. And that's perhaps the most important message I can send away to anyone who's thinking about is youth work for them. Youth work is about building and sustaining authentic relationships with young people so that you can be with them in their time and space in their life. And out of that will come the avenues for your practice. So your practice might be focused on supporting them through alcohol and other drugs. It might be supporting them through being homeless. It might be supporting them through an education setting. But all of that would be done through the relationship you build with them. Without the relationship, your practice is negligible and your practice won't have the depth and the potential that it does. So everything that's on that screen there is grounded in the fact that we assume and understand that a healthy and authentic relationship that has integrity is what is the core practice of youth work. So if you have questions coming out of that, throughout today I'm available on our chat function and you'll be able to ask other questions about that too. When we talk about practice, it's important to understand what practice means. And in preparation for today, like all good students, I did a little bit of research and come up with a good definition of practice. And I'm just going to read it to you. That practice is the application of ideas, beliefs and methods. It is informed by theory and guided by you. So that's the sort of the locus where we would put our youth work training for you. That will give you a framework, we'll give you a theory, we'll give you examples, we'll give you field placement, we'll give you real experience working with young people. And out of that, you will find your own informed practice. And that's the frame that we hope that all ACU sort of students and graduates will be coming from. And we have a great collegial feel. We have a course that's not too large. We have students in classes that get to know each other. Our youth work subjects are sometimes open to other students from different disciplines who pick it up as an elective, so there's a great diversity in some of our classes. But other classes, you are just with the youth work students, and across your time with us, you would build connection to your classmates, to your cohort that eventually will become your peers and might become your professional network when you leave us. So we put our theory into practice in the classroom, and we establish good relationships amongst ourselves. And because we're not a very large course, like some courses like nursing or teaching might have many hundreds of students in the class, that's not the case with youth work. We have a manageable, smaller size classes which actually empower us to build connection with our students, and we get to know you. And when it comes to placements and choosing subject areas for study or investigation, we can then negotiate that with you so that you get the experience you most want. So let's have a look a little bit about what does a youth worker do. While you have a look at those slides and just looking at the right hand side there, I see Emily, another one of our graduates who's been working in the field since she left us about 3 years ago. It's nice to see our students who come back and support us. So I just want to acknowledge Emily being with us today. What we have is an opportunity for youth workers to find their niche, their place in the field. And you'll see a few examples there in the dot points. What I generally say to anyone who's thinking about, is youth work for me? And if you're listening to this presentation today, I would say at the least you've asked the question. So I welcome you to this space while you consider what your career pathway might look like. As a youth worker myself, I say it's been a rewarding career, and it's opened doors for me that I didn't even know existed. And I've felt purposeful in my work. I felt useful. And at times, I believe I have played a role in changing the lives of young people. And other times, I've been able to support them through difficult times. I've been able to be a companion to them as they needed support. And then sometimes I've just done my job. So it gives you opportunities to make a difference in the world and keep you employed and have a career that is long lasting at the same time. If you were looking at youth work jobs and you weren't sure if it was going to be for you, the best thing you can do is actually look at what's being advertised. Now, during this time of the coronavirus, employment might be a little bit more limited than it might be in the next few years. But if you're looking at beginning your enrolment and studying with us, you've got several years before you'd be looking at finding your work. So this is the right time to daydream. So there's a really good jobs website called Ethical Jobs. There are other jobs websites, but the one that I would recommend is Ethical Jobs. And type into that youth work. You can choose Australia-wide, or you could choose just Victoria or Melbourne, it doesn't matter, and look at what jobs are being advertised. And some would say youth justice, or alcohol and other drugs, or homelessness, or community service. There'll be a range of jobs. Have a look at those jobs, have a look at the position descriptions. And if you see those descriptions and say, I'm interested in that, I would like to do that, then perhaps that is the sign that you're looking for, that you can say, oh, wow, that's the work I would like to do. And that perhaps is sometimes the best way to know if this is a career that's going to suit you. So rather than talking to you about what jobs could be, the best thing to do is go and have a look at those jobs. But things like schools, residential care facilities, substance abuse, emergency and crisis support, refugee services, Indigenous young people, local government, church settings, not-for-profit, community sector. It's broad and it's wide, and I would encourage you to find the spot that you feel attracted to, and this course will qualify you to work in those areas. This slide I won't spend much time on. Those first year entry requirements there for study scores is more applicable to international students. The question I normally get asked at Open Day is, what was the ATAR for the Bachelor? The ATAR in previous years has been about 58. So give or take, that will probably be roughly what it is for the coming years, the next year. We don't know at this time what the ATAR will be, so 58 has been sort of the benchmark for the last few years. If you're studying our bachelor, or if you're not familiar with the terminology, another word people will use at this time is our degree, you'll do more because it's longer. The bachelor is 3 years long and our diploma is 1 year long. So you do more subjects if you do the 3 years, obviously. So if you're doing the bachelor, here's an example of the study you would do in the first year. And you get an elective. Throughout our course, we've deliberately given you some freedom so that you can choose some areas of interest that you want to choose to make the flavour of your course. So we don't tell you what to do for your electives. There's a long list and you get to pick that. So that's a unique sort of point of difference, is that it's not 100% set. You get to make this course have its own edge, its own flavour for you. There's a substantial amount of youth work subjects, and at least half of what I'm looking at on that screen there are within the youth work discipline, and there's some sociology subjects as well. Second year has got some sort of deeper level. Our youth work counselling subject begins next year. I teach the building relationships subject. I also teach the sociology subject called difference and diversity. So you get a good range of subjects across your time. And in final year, you will do your final placement and your final 2 electives. So all of this information is available to you at other sources, and we can get it to you if you want to. But I just wanted to briefly show you what a course map looks like. Out of interest, the diploma is exactly the same as the first year of the degree, and that's done on purpose. You're in the same classes doing the same subjects as the degree students if you're doing the diploma. If you get 100% pass rate in the diploma, you are eligible to roll over into the second year of the degree. So if you commit to the diploma, you're only committing to 1 year of study, but if you pass everything, you can apply to transfer into the second year of the degree. So it's a good pathway in and can help people that might have just missed out on that ATAR as well. So it's an interesting one to remember, and if you have questions about that, feel free to ask. So the professional placements, I know I've only got a couple of minutes before we head across to questions, so I'll try not to spend too long on this, but in second year, students do 200 hours of field placement, and in third year, they do 300 hours. And as you can see there, that's a total of 500 hours of placement experience. And we support you to find your own placement in a youth work organisation that is of interest to you. So I will always support students find their placement, but students do have permission to seek their own placements and then check with me if it's a suitable placement. And that way you get to do your youth work placement in the kind of youth work you're most interested in. That can be done full-time, as it's suggested here on those dot points, but it can also be done part-time. So again, if you have questions relating to that, you're welcome to ask me either in the chat or when you meet with me individually later if you come to my Zoom sessions. Just briefly, I've got a producer behind the scenes that you can't see, and he's not telling me to get off yet, so I'll wait till he tells me to get off. There are some limited opportunities for youth work students to study overseas. I have taught our university core curriculum in addition to teaching youth work, and we have got 4 international locations once restrictions are lifted when students can choose to study overseas. Not everyone gets to go, you have to be selected, but if you put your hand up, there's a good chance you'll get to go. And I did teach in Rome 2 years ago. One of the best things I did. We've got an awesome campus in Rome that's right close to the old city, and you engage with the local community, and it's just a great experience. So if you study at ACU, there are international experiences available to you. Occasionally students take a whole semester and go overseas and study at other partner universities, but more often than not, students would choose to do one outside of the semester, one subject. So that's all the information I'm going to say about that, because it's nearly time to get to questions. Oh, look at that, I'm at the last slide. So I don't have a lot more content to give you, but if there have been questions popping up, what I will do is come back to our presentation and stop the share. So I think if I've got that right, we should now be back at you seeing my larger face. So I'm going to pop across and have a read of the questions. What's the main difference between youth work and social work? Well, hopefully I answered that question during the session. Charlie, thank you for asking. There are a few ways I can answer that question, and I'll go back to what I said during the presentation. The main difference between youth work and social work is that we have a greater focus on understanding and supporting young people. So we won't teach you how to work with in aged care facilities or in palliative care or the broader areas. So often we work in conjunction with social workers. So youth work and social work is not pitted against each other. We just have different specialties. We also will have perhaps greater training on young people and greater understanding on adolescent development and sort of the social world young people live in. So you'll get a more specialised training by doing a youth work degree. That said, I've had several graduates over the years that have done the youth work degree at ACU and then have gone on to do postgraduate social work studies at different universities. So it opens up a pathway for you to have a double qualification if that's something that you're interested in. So I'll just see if there's any more questions coming in. We'll have a sip of water. If you have questions that you are waiting to ask but don't want to ask in this forum, you're welcome to follow those links on the Open Day website, and remembering that I'm on the Zoom chat this afternoon up until 1 o'clock, and I will meet with you individually. So there might be a short wait from time to time, but I will meet with people individually if you have specific questions. So hello, Claire. Is the course face-to-face only? Any option for remote learning from Sydney? Interesting question, Claire, because at the moment here in Melbourne, we're all in lockdown and everything's online, and I have got students from interstate in my classes who wouldn't normally be in my class because we've gone online. So the answer is traditionally we have been a face-to-face course. Because so much of our work is relational, we see the value and the importance of working in workshop modes for some of our subjects so we can support the development of those skills and then for you to practice those. So some of the youth work subjects are available online all of the time, but I can't guarantee that you would be able to get all of them. But you wouldn't be able to do the full degree online in the current mode. So outside of the COVID environment, the answer is that it is generally an on-campus course. That said, you're in Sydney. We are opening a Blacktown campus in 2021, so next year, and the Youth Work Diploma is going to be offered there. So if you are interested in youth work as a pathway and are thinking that ACU sort of fits with you, I would encourage you to have a look at the website and have a look at what's happening at Blacktown, given that it's a new campus, a lot's still being developed, but that brings innovation and new ideas. But our diploma, which is the same as the first year of the degree, and will be the same in Melbourne and Sydney, will be offered next year in Blacktown. So you'll get the subjects as outlined on the course map that I showed. And, you know, fingers crossed, maybe we might be able to offer the full degree up there, but I can't tell that to you today because it hasn't been decided if it will or won't, but we all hope that it might be. But you can definitely be doing the diploma in Blacktown, and that is available at just near the public transport hub is my understanding. So whatever the nearest train station is basically where the campus is. So it should be fairly easy to get to. I see I've got another question. So working with young people who are coming from domestic violence, yes, is the short answer. That is the benefit of our course, really focusing on young people and then giving you the opportunity to do placements in areas of your interest. So if you had a particular passion, we would have opportunities in many subjects for you to choose a research topic or an essay topic on this area that you're interested in. And then I would support you to find placements where you get the field experience suitable to your area of interest. And then if you wanted to go on and work in that area full time, you would certainly be qualified. Your placement actually would make you a good candidate if you'd had the right placement. So early on, I would support you, and you'd have to come and identify yourself to me early on in your enrolment about how do we target your placements in the right way for you. And then we have to think broadly too about what is the avenues for this work to be achieved. So on top of the course of study that we're going to be giving to you, we would say, well, what employment opportunity should we be aware of? So is it Department of Health and Human Services? Is it the not-for-profit sector? Is it the you know, like Anglicare, Berry Street, Salvation Army, those bigger organisations that you might be able to start investigating early to target your career in that direction? So the short answer is yes, the long answer is what I just said. So we will keep on sort of filling in our time here until the end because we've gone until 10:30, so I've got a few more minutes. So if you have questions that pop into your mind at the moment, you're welcome to ask, and my producer will publish them. But I'll sort of fill in bigger picture for you. So Knowing that we've got the Blacktown campus means that people listening in Sydney will have the opportunity to do the diploma next year. In Melbourne, we have got our fingers crossed that we'll be back on campus next year. We're not on campus at the moment, obviously. And our campus is undergoing some rapid changes. We've got a really big building program that is being accelerated along this year. So we've got an exciting campus with a lot of new facilities coming on, and they're actually knocking down a car park to create more green space. So there'll be more open spaces in the next year, and new buildings that have gone up and higher over our existing buildings. So the campus has got a great momentum about it, and it's got a great vibe. We've got really good facilities, a library that won awards for its design. So if you haven't had a chance to look through our campus yet, because we're closed, as soon as we're reopened, I encourage you to poke your nose in the door. Come and have a look at our campus once everything's back to normal, because it might help you really feel like this is achievable. We're a good campus, but we're not so big that you get lost, and that is sometimes the right fit. Certainly was for me. So questions come through about, could you become a school counsellor from this degree? I'll answer that in two ways, because it's a yes and a no answer. Youth work does have a youth work counselling subject within it, so you will learn counselling skills. You won't be eligible to be a member of the Counselling Association because we're not a counselling degree. So if you're technically wanting to do counselling, this might not be the right course for you. But if you wanted to be a youth worker with counselling skills, then it might be the right course for you. I would say every year I have at least 1, 2, maybe 3 students who do their placements in a school. So I've got good pathways for youth work placements in schools available that I can support. And on top of that, I can think of 3 or 4 graduates off the top of my head, and there's bound to be more, that are working in schools in the student wellbeing team. In one of those schools in the northwestern suburbs of Melbourne, he is the wellbeing team on his own. In other schools, they're a member of a team of 4 or 5 staff. So it really depends on the size of the school and the size of their wellbeing team. And those graduates are working as a range of different titles, because the title can be different from school to school, whether it be school counsellor, student wellbeing officer, or simply youth worker. So there's a range of different pathways into working at schools, but the short answer to your question is yes. So that's a very good question to ask, and I'm glad you did. Thank you. I wonder if I can give you a thumbs up, because next to you there's an image for thumbs up. There you go. Don't know if you can see that, but I've given you a thumbs up because I reckon that was a good question. And it looks like we might have one more question coming through. Good question. How many students would be in the classes? On any given year, if you are in the youth work specific classes, there might be about 30 students in that class. So, you know, as I said before, the bigger courses can have hundreds. Like I know nursing can have 800 or something. Like, it's massive. So in the specific youth work classes, it's not that big. But some of the other, like sociology subjects, you would be in the same classroom as students doing a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Social Science. So you might have 100 people in your sociology class, but when you got to your youth work specific classes, it might be as small as 30. But you might have students who have chosen to do a youth work minor, which is 4 youth work subjects to complement their other degree. So sometimes that class swells up to 60, but generally between 30 and 60 would be the size. And our tutorial classes have a cap of between 25 and 30. So outside of the lectures, you spend more time in tutorials, and those classes are never bigger than that. So we get to know you, and hopefully you get to know us too. We'd like to stay in touch with our graduates. So if you become one of our students, you'll become part of our alumni, and we would love to see how your journey goes. It looks like I'm nearing the end of my time, so I think I need to say goodbye to you. What I would like to say is stay in touch. There are 2 more open days exactly the same time next week and the week after, so come back to these sessions and see what my colleague Jen says, and hopefully she says the same that I did, but hers will have a different flavour because she's a different person. But you are welcome to follow the link to the Zoom session that goes from now to 1 o'clock for the rest of the day if you want to come and ask me a question in person. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.